About 2 years ago, I became convinced that there was a way to turn cotton balls into edible and hopefully tasty cotton candy. At first, this idea seemed a bit ridiculous, but I knew that it should have been possible. This is because cotton, even though it doesn't seem like it at all, is technically entirely sugar. The only problem is that all this sugar, or more specifically glucose, is trapped in something called cellulose. As cellulose, it acts like a completely different material, and we can use it to make things like cotton balls and clothing. At its core, though, it's all just sugar. So, what I dreamed of doing was breaking down cotton balls back into sugar and then turning them into candy. I didn't just want to make any candy, though, and I specifically wanted to make cotton candy. I wanted to make literal cotton candy. To get started, the first thing that I had to do was figure out how to even do it. I had to come up with a way to break down the cellulose back into sugar, and my first idea was to use an enzyme. This was because I had already used an enzyme for another project where I turned toilet paper into drinkable alcohol, and it had worked really well. For that one, I used an enzyme called cellulase, and I was able to break down the toilet paper, which is also entirely cellulose. This gave me a solution of sugar, which I fermented to alcohol using yeast, and then I distilled it to make my toilet paper moonshine. The whole process ended up being surprisingly efficient, and I figured it was the best place to start. The only issue was that the enzyme I'd used wasn't pure, and it was mixed with maltodextrin and cornstarch. Both of these were sugars, but they weren't fermentable by yeast, so none of it turned into alcohol, and they didn't at all interfere with that project. However, for this one, I couldn't have any extra sugar floating around. It would be almost impossible to separate it from the sugar that I made, and it would just be a huge mess.